My first video, I have spoken about determination of microbial load as one of the most important work a microbiologist will have to carry out in the laboratory. The second important thing for which the microbiologists are appointed by companies is maintenance and preservation of their microbial cultures. Most of the microbial processes use their specialized cultures which has got typical characteristics, typical properties which are of industrial importance, and to maintain these cultures in the living condition and to retain their performance in terms of productivity, in terms of activity, in terms of yield and growth characteristic is one of the most challenging job a microbiologist has to do. And for this purpose, microbiologist has to pay lot of attention and do very diligent work. Now, when you talk of cultures, let us see how you will what all the I will give you some example. There might be cultures which are used for production of antibiotics. There might be lactic cultures which are used for production of curds and other fermented products. There might be cultures used for production of alcohol. In high gravity fermentation, there might be cultures which are used for carrying out conversions, chemical conversions, or there might be cultures which are used for production of enzymes, because these are some of the products which are extensively used and produced in microbial process based industries. So when you are interested with this important job, you have to understand what is meant by maintenance. The word maintenance basically means keeping these cultures in viable condition. Now there are several well established methods of keeping the maintaining these cultures. If there are simple, one of the most important method for very long preservation and maintenance of the cultures is lyophilization or freeze drying. Unfortunately, you may not be having facility in house to do lyophilization, but there are certain organizations and institutions which can do this job of converting your live cultures into lyophilized forms so that they can be maintained, that is, they can be kept live for very long durations and are available as and when required in case of any problem which comes with the working stock cultures. The routinely followed methods are slant cultures. If you have got slant culture, you use a suitable, good, rich medium, allow your culture of fungus or bacteria or yeast to grow it for say 24 to 48 hours at optimum temperature. Then sterilize liquid paraffin in hot air oven and overlay the liquid paraffin layer on the growth medium by pouring with the help of pipette the liquid paraffin in the test tube so that the entire growth and the agar slope is completely covered. This type of cultures and the method of preservation look very simple, but it works very well in most of the cases. So this is one of the simple method which can be used. Another method is to maintain the culture in frozen condition with some preservatives. This is done basically for viral strains where certain cryoprotective preservatives are incorporated into suspensions, and then they are preserved in liquid nitrogen for very long time, and they are revived as and when required. On the routine basis, some of the cultures are very sturdy. For example, cultures of yeast and culture, and most of the lactic cultures doesn't require very rigorous maintenance as such. Their viability is retained normally, provided they are grown and kept at proper temperature. They can be simply maintained on the stand or liquid cultures, preserved in the cold room, and then you can use them from time to time. For all this, whenever you are doing maintenance, from time to time, you must revive those cultures. That means you have to take out part of the material and allow it to grow back in your standard media to see that the desired quality of growth is obtained at desired temperature, and use that culture to check its specific properties like production of enzyme, immunogenicity, or fermenting power, or gassing power, or enzyme production. So this is part of maintenance. Then okay. So the method which you will select for a particular organism may not be a universal method, and as and when the cultures or the organism changes, you may have to adopt a different system so that you can get the culture in a live stage throughout their utilization period. And certain cultures where virulence and pathogenicity of the organism is very critical, they may be required to be kept in very specialized methods. In my own experience, while manufacturing bacterial vaccines for animal diseases, we used to produce what is called hemorrhagic septicemia vaccine using an organism called Pasteurella multocida, and we used to keep that organism in form in the we used to inoculate that organism into mice, and mice heart will have the blood in which this organism is preserved, or it might be the calf in which we have inoculated. We used to collect that blood, and that blood used to be maintained so that the virulence and antigenicity of that culture is maintained. I mean, this is one example of what very peculiar type of method you may have to adopt for particular type of organism. Now the second part is preservation. Preservation refers basically to the peculiar commercial property of that organism or the microorganism which has to be maintained. For a bacterial strain for vaccine production, it is antigenic character. For enzyme production of a fungal culture or bacterial culture, it is ability to produce very high titer of enzyme concentration in a given medium. For antibiotic producing organism, it is the ability to produce commercially viable concentration of antibiotic in media. For a yeast strain to be used in distillery, its ability to stand high sugar concentrations and high alcohol concentrations in the wort. And for a lactic culture to produce desired aroma compounds and level of lactic acid which is required to set the product like yogurt. For brewers yeast, it is the characteristic of clumping together and rapid sedimentation so that the beer can be clarified very fast. So these are the characteristics which we have to ensure that our method of preservation will keep these characteristics intact and the cultures are available for a long time for industrial use. Thank you.